Bitcoin has just made its first higher high, literally moments ago, for the first time in over 6 months here in Cryptoland.
It's been 84 years.
And that signals that the next leg of this historic Bitcoin bull run is about to begin. So today I'm going to be giving you all of my most valuable coins, a snapshot of my entire portfolio if I were to rebuild it today. So it is a bit consolidated from my portfolio that I revealed almost a year ago, back in Q3 and Q4 of 2023. That's right, I'm going to give you my highest conviction bets, the things that I am very confident will print astronomical upside in the event that Bitcoin does what we're here to see it do, which is take us to that hallowed land of 100K and beyond. During this time, altcoins will 10, 20, 30, and some will even 50 and 100x. And we're here to bring you the absolute gems of all gems. So destroy that like button, hit that sub button if you're new around here, and let's get our hands dirty with our favorite topic, which is altcoins that can retire our bloodlines within just a few months. Wait, don't you go one step further. That's right. Your eyes do not deceive you. In fact, I can hardly believe what I'm seeing. And that's Bitcoin dipping ever so slightly under 65K. But the bears are weak. This dip, it might be your last chance. And of course, the market wanted to dip right before I put my video out. So this here is a warning. The next time you see me, it's mustachio time. The last time I had this mustache was Q4 2021. You remember that time? That was a good time. It's time to bring those good times back. Now, of course, anything could happen. We don't know what's going to happen. But I put all my chips on red here, and if you're going to join me, smash that like button. Let's get to the video. Mustachio is here. The bull run is back. And this little dippy dipperoonie might be your last chance. Now, as you can see here, Bitcoin is just peaking above this yellow line or this orange line, which is 65K. And that was the line in the sand that we were looking to see crossed. If we zoom out here, you can see we've had lower highs all the way since the beginning of March earlier this year. We've had lower lows, and then we had this beauty right here, which will change to a different color so you can understand this changed everything. And once we put in this higher low here, and this was back on the 6th of September, we needed to come and make a higher high over this level, which was exactly 65K. We've now managed to do that. We've traded above this lower high. We've put in a higher low and now a higher high. And so finally, for the first time in what feels like forever, we are now in a macro trend change, a higher time frame change from bearish to bullish here on Bitcoin. Now, of course, a few things here. Bitcoin's crazy. It could do anything. Nothing is guaranteed. I'm not promising you riches on a plate. I'm telling you that I've believed that this risk was worth taking, not just for the last few months, but for the last few years. Since March of 2023, I have not put out a bearish piece of content. No, sir. No, ma'am. I have kept the messaging straight up and consistent because I believe that's what the audience needs. So if you guys appreciate the consistency, no flip-flopping, just straight bull mode for the last year and a half. Once I saw liquidity being injected by the Fed, then you know what to do. Smash that like button and let's get to the good stuff because we're about to show you why Bitcoin is super bullish and I'm going to show you the portfolio that I think destroys all others here. So yes, you can detect my enthusiasm. I'm excited as hell. I've been waiting for this for what feels like forever. First off, some charts here. We have crypto total market cap, obviously breaking this structure. We have the same sort of lower lows and lower highs here. And we can see here, higher low. And then officially we got a higher high here. So the same exact structure we're seeing on crypto total market cap, which is all the coins, not just Bitcoin. And in my opinion, even more important, we have others. Now, others is essentially every coin that is not in the top 10. I believe it's the coins outside of the top 10. So these are the real altcoins where you're going to see if these things are starting to move, that's a sign that altcoins are really getting ready. And as you can see, not as crisp of a diagonal, but you can see it was lower highs all the way here until we got the bottoming, a higher low, and then finally now a higher high. So others, once again, is getting ready to make a move. And this is where the true insane juice comes to the altcoins, where you get the 10s, 20s, 30x's, is when others starts to make a monstrous move here to new highs. But there are several fundamentals here that are happening around the crypto industry that are so bullish and in timing with the best time of the year. Now, if you didn't know this, Q4 is almost always insanely bullish, with the election years in specific being some of the most bullish of all Q4s. So if seasonality and history repeats themselves, and you know history loves to rhyme here in crypto land, we should be looking at a great next few months, especially October here, as I believe there's going to be a lot of pre-election hype here. And again, we'll talk about how I plan to game the election season, not on this video, but on a subsequent video. Leave me a comment if you're excited for that one. But I want wanted to talk about something massive that just changed with Bitcoin. And this is that we just got Bitcoin options approved. That phrase probably means almost nothing to you, but I'm going to explain why it's actually something really significant and why it could act as even more significant rocket fuel to this whole Bitcoin bull run, something that we've been missing to draw in astronomical new sums of money from TradFi. You know, the traditional finance world thrives on leverage and it thrives on derivatives. If you didn't know this, the derivatives market is wildly bigger, astronomically bigger than the actual equities and commodities markets. Derivatives, essentially people betting with leverage on the directional value of these underlying assets, are worth up to 100 times more than the underlying assets themselves. In short, Wall Street loves to bet with leverage on these assets, and they love it a whole lot more than actually holding the underlying assets. So up to this point, yes, the Bitcoin ETF has been amazing, but with ETF options, which are derivative products, we're going to see a whole nother level of finance bros getting their hands knee deep in the crypto waters. If the ETF was snorkeling, this is some deep sea scuba diving stuff. This is some next level stuff, and I'm about to explain how this works. So I'm going to explain this in like NFL terms because I don't want to get too deep in here because there's a lot of very technical terms here. But for the first time, you have to understand that Bitcoin's notional value will be fractionally banked, meaning that there will be assets traded against Bitcoin that are not just whole Bitcoins trading on the ETF. Right now, when you buy Bitcoin on the ETF, whatever you buy is actually getting bought by the ETF. It's a one-to-one relationship. This is going to be fractionally banked. And a lot of people worried that this could create a phenomenon of paper Bitcoin, where there's a lot of fake IOUs for Bitcoin out there, but not actual physical Bitcoin backing this up. However, the magic sauce here is that options allow for people to bet with a small amount of money and have a potential massive outcome. They can bet, for example, $100 and bet with size of $1,000 or even up to $10,000. And one of the big things about these options is they now have long dated options. So instead of getting very short-term price fluctuations, you can now bet on the price of Bitcoin in, say, the end of 2025 or seasonally important dates. And those are options that I can see being insanely popular with TradFi. These new products are going to appeal to the biggest money bags in a way that they can get fully degen with Bitcoin in massive size. Believe it or not, the most sophisticated investors don't just buy things like Apple stock, they buy derivatives of Apple stock. They buy exotic products that can turn their base hits into home runs, to give you a sports term here. But normally these products would act to actually limit the volatility, meaning there would be less upside and less downside with options like this on traditional products like Apple. And that's because if Apple goes crazy up in price, Apple as a company can actually issue more shares. They can dilute the stock. We saw this with GameStop and GME. When the stock was pumping like crazy, they just issued a bunch of more shares so that they could actually just sell and dump effectively new supply on the Wall Street bets crowd. And that effectively killed the bull run, and the company ended up with a gargantuan amount of cash. You can't do that with Bitcoin because there is no more supply to issue. So you can't dilute it as it goes up. Now, the most important thing I think here is this part, which is that Bitcoin has unique volatility characteristics. One of the most important is the volatility smile. And that means that as the price goes up, the volatility actually increases. Now, most assets, as the price goes up, like Apple, Google, whatever, the actual change in price day by day, percentage-wise, usually drops. There's less volatility as the price goes up. And this means that there's less risk in holding that asset. Whereas Bitcoin, as it starts to go on its rampaging bull runs, it can have explosive up and down moves that are absolutely wild. And it typically goes up in volatility as the price goes up. And this makes it a very unique asset. Historically, with call options, as spot rises, meaning the price rises, implied volatility tends to fall. So while the option delta increases, ignore all that, the rate of increase slows. However, with Bitcoin, as the price goes up, the people selling these options will probably need to buy more Bitcoin to cover those options. But because of Bitcoin's unique volatility profile, meaning it can continue to have insane volatility, even more volatility as the price goes up, well, those dealers selling these options, if the price pumps up, will need to buy a ton of Bitcoin to control their risk. Because if they're selling options that could pay out the buyer an astronomical sum, the way that they're going to cover their butts is by owning a bunch of Bitcoin so that they participate in that upside. And that way, if Bitcoin keeps exploding, well, they have the underlying Bitcoin to cover themselves. So this means if Bitcoin pops up in an aggressive way, any options dealer will have to buy a bunch of Bitcoin, meaning each price explosion will lead to a ton more Bitcoin buying of the underlying. which again leads to more price explosion. So unlike something like Apple, where a price explosion could lead to the asset getting more boring, this price explosion, the way these options will work and the way Bitcoin works, will most likely lead to Bitcoin getting way crazier. So the approval of these options is going to be crazy. And it's actually going to add rocket fuel in a way that will bring in all kinds of new speculators into this asset. It could be that next SpaceX booster on the Bitcoin rocket ship. This is huge. And it comes exactly on the day that we hear China is about to go all out on their own stimulus to save the private economy. China is pulling out all the stops to boost stock prices and to stimulate their economy. And this comes just days after the US Federal Reserve announced their 50 basis point cut. That's right. While there is still risk that the United States could fall into a recession, and this could be bad for our bags, all signs right now are showing that the global economy is looking to ease conditions and drive more liquidity into the stock market, into the investment sector. Unless we get some wild recession here, this is going to be absolutely crazy for our bags. Just to be clear on the China thing, I think Lynn Alden has a great take here. Base case is that China stimulus is less impactful than the bulls think initially, but more persistent than the bears think. As some have pointed out, the numbers aren't actually huge. Instead, it's more about a change of priorities upon having reached certain pain points. Again, when you change monetary policy, it's not a single action, but it's an overall momentum shift, and it's an ideological shift that shows global central banks are starting to add liquidity to markets to prop up economies because they believe that there is a risk in not doing so, which means that we should look forward to not just a single action, but a series of actions and an overall mindset of supporting assets like Bitcoin and other risk assets, and driving money, the trillions of dollars that are currently on the sidelines sitting in T-bills and money market funds. Those are going to come storming into risk assets and should lift both traditional markets and especially crypto to astronomical new highs. This is not a drill. This is the year of the halving. In Q4, this is the beginning of what is historically the most bullish time, and we're getting all kinds of signs from global central banks from every single corner that we are not alone. We are fighting this battle in tandem with the biggest financial players, the central banks around the world. And look, while I have not been a fan of the democratic approach to cryptocurrency, certainly why would you? It's been super aggressive and hostile. Kamala Harris apparently is saying that she wants the US to remain dominant in blockchain. I personally don't believe her. I think she's in this say anything to get elected part of the campaign, and it seems like she might not be super confident right now. Again, you could say the same thing about Donald Trump, but he has been much more consistent in supporting the crypto movement. Either way, if both candidates want to come out and support crypto, then great. That removes some of the election risk that we might get hostile leadership back in the White House. Again, I know everyone feels extremely passionately about this election, but my passion for crypto is so much bigger than any of this drama. If we can wipe away that layer of uncertainty, to me, it would just be amazing for the industry. Nothing to see here, just gold making new all-time highs here around $2,700 per ounce. That is a record. And, gold obviously is the canary for when things are going to shift and when there's fear of inflation. And essentially Bitcoin being digital gold, you can think of gold's move upwards as incredibly bullish for Bitcoin. And what's crazy here is looking at the Blockgraze tweet. He said, what if they did this to us again, where you essentially had 2023, where it was so boring from essentially March all the way through the end of the year, through October. And we're having the exact same thing. He said, what if this happened again? He said, it's crazy they did this to us. I think it's crazy as well. But honestly, shout out to everyone who's still rocking with the channel. If you're still here, you deserve what's coming next. If you are buying aggressively during these boring periods under 60K, I think that fate will treat you very, very, very wisely. And obviously a lot of altcoins are already up 50, 100% or more off their lows. And so if you were buying under 60K, under 55K, then you were taking that risk and you deserve whatever reward is coming your way. All right. It's time now to segue into talking about my new approach to my portfolio. So first, I'm going to give you an overview here. I've simplified things, especially if you're new on the channel. This is going to be the way that I'm approaching my entire crypto portfolio. And no, I haven't sold any of my early investment bags. I haven't sold any of my angel investments, which are largely unlocking little by little over time. I want a lot of those to move before I sell them. And I think that a bull market will treat them well. But for now, if I was starting over from scratch, I would do this. I would have 60% of my coins in my high conviction bucket and 40% in what I call zero infinity, where the high conviction bucket makes up the stuff that you know is going to be a part of this bull run, and it's going to have limited downside compared to the zero infinity bucket. And the zero infinity bucket is as it sounds. It's either going to zero or it's going to infinity, and those are the odds we like in crypto, because if you get a few infinities mixed in there, it dramatically changes your whole portfolio performance. So my high conviction bucket, quite simply, is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Coinbase stock. There it is. That's your high conviction bucket. I know those coins are going to print. Obviously, I've added Telegram program, Ton Network sort of in there on the side because it's been so wildly successful. But again, it's not a cheap coin. And if you were to take it in a very simple way, this is my high conviction bucket. These are the percentages I started with last year. I honestly would put Solana equal to Ethereum here because in a lot of ways, Solana and Ethereum are competing for the same headspace, the same mind share. And Coinbase stock is just essentially the TradFi play on crypto. This is my high conviction bucket. Any way that you mix this up, if you like one more than the other, feel free to play with this. I don't think there's any wrong configuration here. You want a little bit of all these, in my opinion. That's how I'm approaching it. And then the zero infinity bucket, these are my narratives. I told you guys since the beginning, gaming, AI, and memes. I made that clear in the middle of 2023. And if you guys appreciate me calling that effectively, these have been the standout categories since middle of 2023. Gaming had the biggest wave in Q4 of 2023. And then we had the AI and meme wave. These have been the standout categories. Obviously, gaming has had a pretty significant reset, but not all the coins, especially some of the ones closest and nearest and dearest to my heart, have actually had as bad of a reset as the rest of gaming. In fact, some of the star performers have significantly outperformed almost any other utility coin that was pre-existing this cycle. The other categories here are RWA. I mean, this is a BlackRock play. To me, RWAs are problematic, but if BlackRock literally loses it and goes full on into RWAs, it's going to create a narrative, right? That's just the reality. So RWAs, I'll be coming out with a video on that. And then of course, layer ones, there's always going to be room for some layer ones. The Ethereum killers, those are obviously the biggest, most sought after platforms, and they get massive valuations. The problem with L1s this cycle versus last cycle is that most of them are trading in the multi-billion-dollar valuations. Whereas last cycle, you could literally have bought Solana for $50 million, for $100 million around the start of the bull run. Around this particular time, last bull run, you could have gotten into Sol at under 100 mil. So, most of these cool L1s are trading above $1 billion. And so you're looking at just a different value prop. Again, the market's bigger, so these could end up growing way bigger this time, but it's just not as much of a steal deal as I think gaming, AI, and memes are. So here I actually have my consolidated portfolio. And I have some percentages here. These are things that you could play around with depending on your conviction. Again, I didn't put any percentages next to projects that I've co-founded or that I'm contributing to or have contributed to because I'm not allowed to. But in the end, just know that these are my highest convictions. Like these are the ones that I know exactly what's going on. I don't have to guess on what the team or the foundation might do. And that's really X factor. So any of these things, eventually the truth is that there's humans behind these projects and what they do can dramatically affect the tokenomics, the unlocks, all of these things have massive effects. But this is the base port, right? You have the ETH, Bitcoin, Solana, Coinbase. Play around with your percentages, whatever you think is right. And yeah, have fun with it. Again, these are just some metrics, some basic starting points that I think are easy to start with. Feel free to mix and match. I just think you should get a significant chunk of your portfolio in your high conviction bucket. And I do recognize that this now sums 75%, not 60%. You can make ETH 10% if you want, and Coinbase stock 10% here. Whatever you want to do, that's on you. For gaming, Immutable, obviously I'm a seed investor. This is the biggest coin and they have the most games and they are going to be in many ways a leading indicator for gaming as a whole. If Immutable starts ripping, almost all these coins are going to start ripping. But of course, Beam is another very, very strong infra play. I've been very bullish on both of these since the bottom. And then you have Ronin, which has one of the biggest user bases and one of the biggest platforms. And of course, Superverse. I personally, obviously, am very passionate about this one. You can think of Super as the community coin of gaming, as the currency of gaming, the coin that is in every single game, regardless of whatever chain it's on, regardless of whatever stack it's using. This is how the community flows between all of the games. And it's effectively the gaming cult. And that's why if you go on the timeline, you'll see people going crazy, showing their love for Super, because in my opinion, it's the most fun way to get involved in all of the gaming projects. And it's a good first stop. And I believe it will be the first stop for most people as they come into crypto gaming. This is your simple sort of platform play. Obviously for games, I'm a really big fan of Carrot. I'm a really big fan of Gunzilla. They have Off the Grid. And I'm also a big fan of Super Champs. Their token isn't out yet though. All right, time for the memes. Now, if you remember, I told you guys that the way to play memes are to play established memes, to not go dumpster diving for the new stuff. That stuff could work out. Treat it as a lotto ticket. Any new meme can be treated as a lotto ticket. However, when you look at the things that have been insane performers this cycle and really are coming off of the lows of this recent dip, things like Pepe, things like Mog are coins that I just am really, really bullish on. I've been bullish on them since the beginning, and seeing how they performed through this dip. I mean, look, Mog is already absolutely ripping here. You can see Mog is already ripping here off of the lows. It bottomed out here at, what is it, around 770, whatever. Now it's about double that. So it's almost 2x off the lows here. And you can see it's starting to really hook back up here and try to get back to those highs. That's what you want to see. You want to see coins that are hooking back up and want to challenge those prior highs. If I were to do two meme coins and two meme coins only. I do Pepe and I do Mog. Those are obviously on ETH. So if you want more Sol exposure, Dog with Hat, that's the big Sol coin. And then you got to show some love to Popcat. I mean, this is honestly, of all the meme coins, this has been the craziest chart. Look at this. It's at all-time highs right now. It's over $1 billion, the most recent coin to join the $1 billion meme coin club. I'm actually coping a bit. I sold this thing around 8 cents. So yeah, I'm a little bit bummed because I would have had a really big Popcat position, but much love to the Popcat fam. They have absolutely crushed it and the charts don't lie. This thing is nuts. So if you want some blue chip, whatever that means, exposure on memes on Sol, you'd want to go Dog with Hat or Popcat. Of course, if you want Brett again is the main one on base. Those are where you're seeing the strong performance. Obviously, there's a ton more you could go to. I mean, there's just a ton of memes and maybe you can find your favorite cult here. There's a ton that will probably do well. But my thing is keeping it simple and wanting to go with size and with high conviction into what I think the best coins are, because I also believe that the best meme coins will end up going astronomically high. Remember, it was Doge and Shiba Inu last cycle that went and took up like 95% of the market. And so I think Pepe is kind of setting itself up to do that this cycle, and maybe a few more will come along to get that really astronomical upside. But there's only so many coins that can be in the tens of billions, and in my opinion, you want to find your favorite of those and go hard on those. And that's why I've only accumulated Pepe and Mog, though I do think if you find your favorite cult on this list, go ahead, join the cult, be long cults, be long hardcore communities. Just why people want to understand the magic of why Superverse is outperforming a lot of the rest of the gaming space. It's because it's not just a single game or a single tech stack or just business announcements. It is a hardcore community that we've built here over now 7 years. And people love to join hardcore communities that are not going away. That's fun and that inspires confidence when you see a community continue to grow through the hard times and the good times. That's what's fun. Look for that in memes. Look for that in other projects as well. And I will be doing actually a full-blown meme coin video. Again, I know risky business, but let's be real. Memes will continue to be a huge part of this market. Gaming, AI, memes. Those are the three biggest categories, in my opinion, of this cycle. And so I'll be doing deep dives into all of them continually. Let me know if you guys are excited for that one. And of course, I'll be going into a lot of projects I didn't mention here. Now, we also have RWAs. Again, this is a BlackRock play, straight up. I have about 3% of my portfolio in that. I'll be showing you my particular approach to RWAs. I definitely think that there's going to be a lot of success here, and it'll come seasonally, right? Whenever the RWA season kicks off, that's when you'll see a lot of movement. And there's probably a ton of RWAs that will perform. Much like AI, though, I think that it's not about necessarily the one winner. There will be one or two winners, but there will be a ton of trash that flies. Kind of like AI, there will be a ton of lower down tickers like Metaverse Mania last cycle. Pretty much anything that said Metaverse went crazy, and it didn't matter the quality of it. It was just, if it was a Metaverse, it was going to go nuts. And so you kind of wanted to get like that bottom basement, dirty degen pick type of allocation to this market, because when it did go, those went up 10, 20, 30, 100x. But again, I'm a big fan of finding category leaders. So we will be looking to do so again with RWAs. Hopping over to AI, Akash, Ayaz, Destra, BitTensor. These are the simple ones. If you want simple ones, obviously there are lower, more degen ones. But if I was consolidating my portfolio around seeing what happened over the last several months, yes, there are a ton that will fly. Again, I still own a lot more than are listed here, but those are the ones I'd be looking at if I was looking to start a consolidated portfolio today. And again, some people are fighting Tau BitTensor because it has a ton of unlocks coming, like 50% unlocks. I forgot the exact stat. But again, when the bull market kicks in, those things start to get pushed to the side and you just want mind share. And BitTensor has insane mind share. Again, things like Aether have big mind share, though they have sitting on massive FDVs. Netmind did really good at the beginning of the cycle and has corrected a ton, so that might get another leg. Again, once AI season kicks off, all of these lower down coins might be the ones you want to focus on in small quantities because, like I said, AI right now is mostly a meme. People don't know the final form of AI. People don't know which applications or which on-chain protocols will actually dominate, so it will trade mostly just on narrative and hype. So remember that and treat them, in my opinion, like meme coins. That's how I suggest people treat AI. They should treat it like a subgenre of memes. Finally, layer ones, Celestia and Say. Those are the two that I think are worth focusing on, though, there's a ton of L1s that people want to focus on. Maybe we haven't seen the Solana like wild community pop from the L1 crowd yet. I will say the Barachain party that we saw in token 2049 was absolutely insane. Like this was overflowing over the rafters. So Barachain has a massive community. It has a ton of on-chain primitives, interesting chain to look at, and Monad. I'm a big investor in Monad. This one is also planned to be a massive cook whenever those tokens do come out, hopefully in Q4. Around that time, we can see these two launch. But again, these are unlaunched, so we don't know what their valuations will be. We don't know what the upside will look like, but it could be very well that we haven't seen the Solana of this cycle even launch yet. So Say's chart looks great because if you look at Say, you can see, hey, look, it's still over 50% down from the high, almost 60% down from the high. It bottomed here around maybe 70% down from the high. What was this? 24 cents, and it was up here at $1. Yeah, so 75% off the high, and now it's pretty much doubled back up. So you can see it's made a nice strong move. The lows are probably in here, and we'll look to see it do some multiples of this $1 figure. But again, you're getting in on a coin that is trading at 1.6 billion. Solana last cycle, you could get in at 100 mil. So you're not getting the same low prices that you could last cycle, which is why layer ones are cool. Who knows how high these can go, but it's still just not quite as amazing of a bargain as last cycle. And Celestia, this is the modular narrative, Celestia. So we'll see if Say and Tia, these were some of the early darlings that we covered. I hope you guys can appreciate that we're trying to really follow up and stick with the best performers early in the cycle and continue with them, grow with them throughout the cycle. Because that's the way that probably 99% of this audience on YouTube can play the game. And I've tried really hard not to do this high risk, high reward, quick flip type of approach because it's not something that I believe that is easy to follow. And so if you appreciate me not only creating strategies that are easy to follow along here on YouTube, but sticking with them myself so that I'm in the boat with you guys at all times, I think that that's why we're doing things wildly differently here on the channel. And if you appreciate that, show me some love down below. And I'm pretty excited to continue to do this. What I consider to be kind of a new method. It's definitely not a method I think everybody does. Certainly some awesome content creators like Alex and other ones definitely do this as well. So shout out to everyone doing this, which is significantly harder and it requires a ton of long-term focus and restraint out of us content creators. While I will be doing a full gaming video very soon, and I will have a huge Superverse update on that one. Believe me, the news coming out of Superverse, it's just crazy how much news there is. I can almost not fit it into these videos without it kind of messing with the format of the video. I don't want these videos to be all about Super. I want to deliver all kinds of news and value to you, but there's just so much news right now with Super. And there's even more coming up. In this case, Ton Station, which is the new product being launched by Superverse, you can see that it has now hit 10 million users on Telegram, which makes it now in the running to start competing as one of the biggest platforms on Telegram. And you can see now Superverse having a token in every game, having a game store that has tens of millions of users to push into partners. You can see how Superverse becomes a centrifugal force in the middle of the crypto gaming movement. And I'm very excited. If you haven't joined Ton Station, make sure you do. There's a link in the description. And there's gonna be all kinds of airdrops you can farm there, and even more fun if you're farming there and also a super staker. Again, more details coming up on all that very soon. Now, for those of you who are new here, there is only one sponsor that we've had on this channel for the last year and a half, and that is NordVPN. And that's because I really believe this product is the best in class VPN. And if you're in crypto, you absolutely need a VPN to protect your data from leaking to bad actors who want your coins, they want your name, they want your address. NordVPN is just a couple of dollars a month. In fact, you get a massive juicy discount if you use my link in the description below. It's a product that I use at all times. I'm using it right now, and I highly suggest you try this out. It's got a money back guarantee. So if you don't like the speeds or the service in any way, you can get your money back. It's literally risk-free. But like I've said many times before, there are tons of mistakes that you can be forgiven for making here in crypto land. In fact, OGs make mistakes all the time, but not using a VPN is silly. That's a rookie mistake and you won't be forgiven for that. So make sure you sign up for NordVPN, and doing so with my link supports the channel. So I appreciate it. Once again, thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. All right, there you have it. That's my consolidated portfolio overview. Again, a lot to chew on, but I'll be going deep into each sector, uncovering stones and projects that I didn't talk about here. This is certainly not all that I have in my bag, but this is like a high level approach, a simplified approach to rebuilding your portfolio here towards the end of 2024. And the way I see the market right now, especially based on how things have performed over the last year, we now have a year of performance to judge on. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at EllioTrades. If you guys want to see more content from me, obviously I post there way more often, usually multiple times a day. Videos have been a couple of times a week at most here, though I will be kicking that up. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon on the next episode.